Welcome to Professional Carwashing and Detailing WashTalk. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today my guest is Rex Womble from WashMetrix. Welcome, Rex.
Thanks a lot for having me. Really happy to be here. Big fan of the show.
Cool. Is this your first time in Akron, Ohio?
Second time. Came for a wedding about a year and a half ago. Really big fans of the city, and it's really awesome to be here in the studio.
Cool. Well, let's dive right in. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your career path that led you to what you're doing today with WashMetrix?
Absolutely. So I got into software in college my senior year. I got involved with a startup that ultimately helped me network into my first job out of college, which was working at a software company. I did enterprise software sales. I was the youngest employee on the sales team, so I had to learn fast. I had a lot of fun doing it. And over time, it was about 5.5 years I was there. I learned a lot about the sales side of the business, the marketing side, how to build and deploy software and support that. And it was really, really interesting to me. Right before I left, I had this idea, and I wanted to start my own business at the time. And so when I departed, I ended up starting a company called Archaeo Technologies. It was a software company I co-founded with my current partner now. One of them is named Chetan Chauhan. And Chetan and I started Archaeo. It was a B2B oil and gas document management company. And from idea in 2014, we ended up growing that business, servicing a lot of public and private oil and gas companies in Canada and the United States. We ended up getting acquired in July 2019 by Thoma Bravo. They're one of the largest pure play private equity software firms in the world. And specifically, it was to their platform company, Quorum Software, which is the largest pure play oil and gas software company in the world. So that was a lot of fun, a big adventure over those 6 years, give or take. And then it wasn't until we worked for Quorum for about 2 or 3 years after the acquisition took place that one of my best friends from kindergarten and now third partner, Palmer Dean, came to us with what has now become WashMetrix. He was running a brand that he started with a partner called Alpine Car Wash. It's a multi-site brand that did express washes in DFW. And he said, I've got this data dilemma. My point of sale data, which is like your present data, doesn't really connect to the expenses that are happening in my accounting software. And all my forward-looking, forecasts and budget, it doesn't really connect to all my data, so I have to spend all these manual hours and time, mining data from these systems, getting it all connected to where I can make, decisions around that. And so we all got together, we built a prototype, and we spent maybe 3 or 4 months meeting with, industry brands that ran car washes, large and small. We ended up meeting about 22 of those, showing them our prototype of this application, and the market insight that we learned allowed us to kind of build this product that was industry specific for car wash owners. And that was really the culmination of how we got behind the idea to create and launch the company WashMetrix in May of 2022.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about that. WashMetrix. How do you help car wash owners?
So WashMetrix is the first purpose-built data analytics software company for the car wash market. And we help automate the collection and consolidation of data. And so we've integrated with all the different core systems that a car wash owner would have. And it really comes down to 3 parts. One of those is the point of sale. So the common vendors are Sonny's, DRB, ICS, and MicroLogic. And that gives you like your car counts. You can track labor and sales and memberships. And then the other area is really your accounting. So that's like your expenses, right? Your chart of accounts, how you categorize and allocate all your expenses in the business. And then your forward-looking statements, which is usually in Excel. It's done in Excel most of the time to do your budgeting. And so essentially, WashMetrix has been designed to help collect all that raw transaction level detail on the sales, membership, accounting, and expense side of the business into one data dashboard to help them look back at historical performance of their wash, in current time, their real-time profitability, and also help them forecast their future performance. And so, before WashMetrix came about, a lot of times, you'd hire people to do that reporting side of the business. The owner or site level management have to go run these reports and in many cases and combine and do their own arithmetic around that. And so it was just hard to there was more time required to do that process manually. And so with something like WashMetrix, it helps automate that workflow and then gives them that 360-degree view of their business operation.
Cool. Let's talk about true unit level economics. Exactly what is that? What does that mean? And what does it mean to a car wash owner?
So unit level economics is really the measure of a site's profitability on a per store basis. And so it really comes down to, what the costs are associated with delivering that service or delivering that wash, and then what that, that service at that location can actually generate on a profit standpoint. And so it really is the unit of measure that a lot of people will use when they're trying to value your business, right? And so even if you're making an acquisition, you want to get to the unit level economics on a per store basis. Or if you're selling, you want to maximize that, your EBITDA in that sense of your particular site level performance. And so for car wash, you want to make sure in some cases that, the unit level economics will not take in that general and administrative admin expenses, such as like meals that you're running through the business or entertainment or gas or flights. It really gets those core cogs that are taking part to deliver the service. And ultimately, in this market with all the private equity coming in and the consolidation happening, that's really a core way that they would help value your business on.
Well, now, once a car wash owner has access to real-time, data, when they can actually get a view of what's happening right now, like what does that do for them? Like what types of decisions are they able to make?
So it really does a lot for them in the sense that it helps them track all of the data that is core to managing their company in one central place that's really accurate, timely, and reliable. And so specifically, that real-time view will track, their labor, their sales, their membership, their accounting, and all their finances. So if you double click into that, like for sales, and with WashMetrix, you track down to the hour level of individual sales by hour, by location. You get individual wash counts broken out by package type, by site location, so and then across a certain period of time. On the labor side, there's a whole group of different metrics around that. So labor cost per car, cars per labor hour, labor percent of sales, total labor at a site, it's broken out by corporate level labor costs at the admin level. And on the membership side, you can track a lot of different things, which is a really big component of the business. So like membership percent of total sales. You can track membership growth rates, churn rates. You can track membership conversion rates, capture rates, redemption rates. There's really any metric where a transaction is taking place at the company can be tracked, measured, and monitored. And on the accounting side, it really gets down to the cost side of the business. So you can track at an individual site or if a group of sites are in one state versus the next. You can segregate and slice and dice that information to track, the average cost per car, net income per car, and really get down to like the real-time P&L. Since we unify those sources, you can track real-time P&L integrated with your car count, so you get all that in one view. And that helps you keep a cost control on what's happening in the company. So you can get your water, your labor, your damages per car, your chemical per car, and you can kind of see how those are trending over time by region, by brand, or by individual site level basis.
That's neat. Membership packages are top of mind for everybody right now. It's what makes car washes able to be more profitable than ever before. How can you help car wash owners to know, how their different packages are performing, like which ones are most profitable and which ones may not be as profitable as they thought they were?
Yeah, that's a great point, and it's something that I think every time we talk to a customer, it's really top of mind. And so we have in WashMetrix, we have a graphical report that actually generates that information. So we call it membership effectiveness. And essentially you take, two data sources, right? The historic transactions coming from the point of sale, and then also the expense side of the business. And so the formula that we've created is around tracking by month the different members that you have that are active, the billing around each membership package for each site, the average redemption rates of those memberships or individual sales that you happen to take place, and also your car counts. And then you get into the expense side of the equation where it's tracking the cost per account and the cost per car to get you that net income per car. And so when you do that calculation, it gives you really insightful information in the sense that in one example that we had a client run that scenario using the data that we provided. And through that calculation, they determined the lowest selling package actually lost them money every time they sold that membership. So they were losing close to $2 at one location every time they sold that membership because the cost of that package type for them based on the redemption rate of all those users, it didn't really make sense financially. And so that ultimately led to them, having that insight to change the pricing in that particular location based on the customer needs in that area and based on their cost structure. So very real example that allowed them to kind of grow that profitability metric at that location and gives them that unique insight into all the different washes that they're managing.
Wow. I mean, you without that, you might think like, holy moly, we added 40% to our certain package last month. We had a great month.
That's right.
But really, you're taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back.
That's right.
I mean, that's really valuable information.
And you hit on a great point. So like with one data source, right, like the point of sale would track that top line revenue.
Yeah.
And what we found in a lot of cases is that top line will, make someone really excited, but without that being tied into the expense side of the equation with your accounting implementation, it gives you a different picture, right? And so we found that a lot of the different point of sale systems, it doesn't really track in, the labor burden. It doesn't take payroll processing fees, merchant account fees. So the top line may look really pretty one day, but when you look at the end of the week or the month, it actually gets a lot thinner in the sense because you're taking in that whole scope of the cost in that scenario.
Car wash world right now is full of consolidation, and with multiple locations with different point of sale, different accounting, different membership systems and other systems, it's like a mountain of work, to try to consolidate all that information and make decisions, especially if you have no ability to do it in real time. How can you help with that?
So it's a great question, and it's a big topic in the industry with all the consolidation that's happening, a lot of the M&A activity. There's situations where a brand will acquire another and get a totally different point of sale than the one that they're currently running on. So to rip and replace that point of sale is very expensive. It takes a lot of CapEx to rip and replace and do that conversion. Mm-hmm. There's downtime associated with that. With something like WashMetrix, we can help bridge the gap to connect all those sources of the point of sale into one single consolidated place to give them real-time, cleaned up access on one standard reporting process. And so we had a client that actually grew by acquisition, and they were running 2 different points of sales at each different part of the city. Mm-hmm. And so we helped them kind of do that specifically to have that one integrated, trustworthy source, saving them operational expenses and allowing their team to kind of make decisions on one trusted, reliable, accurate data source.
So if I own 4 car washes with 4 different point of sale systems, I would have to pull the reports, compile the reports, and able to see my data. But now you can be a bridge that just puts it all together and makes it simple for me to see it all.
That is exactly right. And we've actually seen the case where one in particular has 3 point of sale systems, and they're varied by state. So the district managers, the regional managers, they're all using different metrics. And in some cases, those systems report on different calculations. And so management's sitting there trying to understand and dissect and mine all this information from 3 different places, 3 different applications, right? And so to help simplify that, and WashMetrix can help do that by a couple clicks of the mouse. Mm-hmm. It gives them that real-time insight in one standard view. That's the problem that we help solve, is standardization, consolidating that into one trustworthy source that gives you all the information regardless of the system it's coming from.
Wow. I mean, that's the advantage to having lots of data inputs, is the ability to learn from over here and improve over here. And if it all looks different, then an upper level manager either has to take a lot of time and then maybe not even be confident in what he's seeing. But with a standardized view across all those different systems, is that, am I getting that right? Like
you're spot on.
So I can like in real time, I can look over here, I can look over here, and I can look over here, and I can compare those guys on a level playing field and say, okay, this wash is outperforming this one and this. So what can I do to improve over here?
Exactly. And so there's ways to do that, on your own in that sense, right? There's manual workflows required. I can go run reports at a certain site. I can go run them across a region. I got to do the same thing in the other system, right? And that the reports may vary. And then I got to do my own math to extrapolate that information and understand what's happening month over month. There's more reports. And then since it doesn't tie into the accounting system of record, it's hard to calculate the expenses. And so, having an easy option to help do that without hiring more people to get that job done, because it can be very tedious. That's where we try to fit in and add value, is where software can do that heavy lifting for you. It can tie the systems together. It'll do the calculations. It will continuously run hour by hour and every day that the system's up, and help kind of simplify that complicated process in a way that site level management all the way to the C-suite or even investors or potential acquirers can see all that information in one centralized place.
Cool. Well, now let's talk about customers for a bit, because our industry as a whole, car washes are being built all the time everywhere. Multiple car washes on the same street. Customers have a choice these days. And so the customer experience is probably more important than it's ever been in the car wash industry. If somebody has a bad experience, they may not ever come back because there's 5 other car washes on their way home that they can stop at. How can having access to real-time data help to improve that customer experience?
So that's everything, right? That's the critical component, right? How do I attract, retain, and keep my customers? And so using data helps you understand the habits and needs of the customer, and also at each site location, because the demographics may change, right? And so in one example, it helps you understand how to plan and optimize your labor. So we had a client that wanted to understand the busiest days of the last 12 months across all sites, and they were in 5 states. So there's one way to go manually go and run that math. With WashMetrix, we helped kind of serve that up in a heat map. And so they were understand peak parts of the week, certain holidays, certain months. I want to plan to make sure that they have the right people on staff on their labor. And it helped them kind of make that experience more positive for the customers. There's less wait time, et cetera. On another front, pricing strategies. If you're priced too high or too low, you'll understand that by using data to kind of help give you that benchmark around to back up the subjective piece of, are we priced too high or too low? And so you can adjust pricing based on those demographics, based on what your customers are seeing, what they're buying and what they're not. So also more importantly is the membership strategies that are working. So if you notice that churn or growth, membership churn or membership growth is spiking or going down in one location versus the other, you can understand with site level management, what strategies are you putting in place to result in that growth? Or what strategies do I need to change or improve to make sure that my churn slows down? And so data will help back up that feeling of what needs to be done at a site to make sure that the customer experience is serviced correctly, and then you understand what the customer needs at each site location.
Well, I just had an idea. I guess if you had multiple car washes, the same way you do A/B testing with a banner ad on a website, you could do A/B testing at the car wash level. If you want to try something new, you set up your baseline for all your car washes so you know how they normally perform. You change one thing at one car wash, and now you have real data that says it either worked or it didn't work.
That's right.
And so you could try it with marketing, you could try it with pricing, you could try it with chemical, you could try it with labor. You could constantly be dialing in the perfect mix, right?
That's right. So cost control is probably one of the most important topics that I think we help our customers do, right? So it's either grow your top line or cut costs to make a more positive impact on the bottom line. And I think data plays a big part in that, because if you bring all the information together in one place, you get the advantage of having that centralized decision-making authority and having all the data to back up a lot of the different strategies or variances or changes or discrepancies that you may see at your site's performance. And so I think you're spot on in that example, and I think that hopefully our customers feel the same way.
That's exciting. Rex, I really appreciate you coming to see us today. Is there anything more you'd like to share with our audience?
So I think this industry is going through a lot of transition at the moment. There's a lot of new capital coming in from different players and private equity. And we've seen that the trend really is to either grow your bottom line to help maximize the value on an exit, or tighten up your costs to run your business more profitably. And I think that WashMetrix would love to play a role in that for companies of all sizes. And I think, there's options for the customer now. WashMetrix is now a vendor that can help the company go live very quickly, very efficiently, and effortlessly. They can go live in less than a week. The data starts to sink in immediately, and then all the historical data will come in after. And we've seen, whether you're large or small, that there is the option to go custom build and develop your own application, but that kind of gets outside of the core process of running a car wash, right? It's a heavy capital expense. You have to get multiple different systems in place and at times people to get there. And I think we're trying to be the cost-effective alternative option for companies of all sizes to help get there faster and ultimately do more with less. And so version 1 of WashMetrix is that business intelligence and analytics capability. And I think as we look down the line, we're building things around accounting automation to help reduce the amount of time and for the bookkeeping teams to close out their books, and also to help do scenario planning and forecasting in the future. We think that there's a way to take historical data and help populate what may happen in a projected scenario of a wash, say at this time next year, and then do scenario planning around that. So what if chemical costs go up? What if churn goes up? What if my membership growth rate doesn't sustain? And having the ability to see what that would look like is, I think, a powerful tool at some point that we're working on right now. We're also doing a digital site scorecard where it gives operators the ability to see proactively in real time how their teams are tracking towards a defined goal, and then the variance around what's actually happening versus what that goal was. So it'll help digitize and systemize the operations at a store level to benchmark how those sites are actually doing. So we're really excited about what's happening with WashMetrix now, and also the direction that we're going to help customers be more efficient and use data to their advantage.
Great. Thank you for coming today. And thank you for taking the time to join us for this episode of WashTalk. We look forward to seeing you soon again.